Hello and welcome back. So this is going to be a codex reading, and let's see what we've learned. Hala. No creature is more revered by the Dalish than the Hala. No other animal has a god of its own. These white stags are much larger than ordinary deer, and the Dalish Hala keepers carve their antlers as they grow, making them curved and intricate designs. In ancient times, these stags bore elven knights into combat, but since the fall of the Dales, they are used less as mounts and more to pull the arabels. Let's see. Elganar, god of vengeance. Long ago, when time itself was young, the only things in existence were the sun and the land. The sun, curious about the land, bowed its head close to her body, and Elganar was born, a place where they touched. The sun and the land loved Elganar greatly, for he was beautiful and clever. As a gift to Elganar, the land brought forth many great birds and beasts. The sky and forest and all manner of wonderful green things. Elganar loved his mother's gifts and praised them highly and walked amongst them. The sun, looking down upon the fruitful land, saw the joy that Elganar took in her works and grew jealous. Out of spite, he shone his face full upon all the creatures the earth had created, and burned them to ashes. The land cracked and split from bitterness and pain, and cried salt tears for the loss of all that she had wrought. The pool of tears cried for the land became the oceans, and the cracks in her body became the first rivers and streams. Elganar was furious at what his father had done and vowed vengeance. He lifted himself up into the sky and wrestled with the sun, determined to defeat him. They fought for an eternity. Eventually the sun grew weak, while Elganar's rage was unabated. Eventually Elganar threw the sun down from the sky and buried him in the deep abyss created by the land's sorrow. With the sun gone, the world was covered in shadow, and all that remained in the sky were the reminders of Elganar's battle with his father, drops of the sun's lifeblood which twinkled and shimmered in the darkness. From the tale of Elganar and the sun, as told by Gisharu, keeper of the Ralaferan clan of the Dalish elves. Fenharel, the Dread Wolf. There's precious little we know about Fenharel, for they say he did not care for our people. Elganar and Mithal created the world as we know it. Except the land already existed before Elganar. Anyway, Andril taught us the ways of the hunter. Siles and June gave us fire and crafting, but Fenharel kept to himself and plotted the betrayal of all the gods. And after the destruction of Arathan, when the gods could no longer hear our prayers, it is said that Fenharel spent centuries in a far corner of the earth, giggling madly and hugging himself in glee. The legends say that before the fall of Arathan, the gods we know and revered fought an endless war with others of their kind. There is not a Haran among us who remembers these others. Only in dreams do we hear whispers of the names of Geldaru, Aruran, and Learnthal and Anaris. For they are the forgotten ones, the gods of terror and malice, spite and pestilence. In ancient times, only Fenharel could walk without fear among both our gods and the forgotten ones. For although he is kin to the gods of the people, the forgotten ones knew of his cunning ways and saw him as one of their own. And that is how Fenharel tricked them. Our gods saw him as a brother, and they trusted him when he said that they must keep to the heavens while he arranged a truce. And the forgotten ones trusted him also when he said he would arrange for the defeat of our gods, if only the forgotten ones would return to the abyss for a time. They trusted Fenharel, and they were all of them betrayed, and Fenharel sealed them away so that they could never walk among the people. And the tale of Fenharel's triumph is told by Disrael, keeper of the Ralaferan clan of the Dalish elves. Gillenan, mother of Hala. They said that Gillenan was one of the people, and in the days before Alathan and the chosen of Andril, the huntress. She was very beautiful, hair of snowy white, and was graceful as a gazelle. Not as graceful as a Hala. She kept always to Andril's ways, and Andril favored her above all others. One day, while hunting in the forest, Gillenan came across a hunter she did not know. At his feet lay a hawk, shot through the heart with an arrow. Gillenan was filled with rage, threw the hawk along with the hare. Is an animal much beloved by Andril. Gillenan demanded that the hunter make an offering to Andril in exchange for taking the life of one of her creatures. The hunter refused, and Gillenan called upon the goddess to curse him, so that he could never again hunt and kill a living creature. Gillenan's curse took hold, and the hunter found that he was unable to hunt. Wait, Kamen? His prey would dart out of sight, and his arrows would fly astray. His friends and his family began to mock him for his impotence. For what use is a hunter who cannot hunt? Ashamed, the hunter swore that he could find Gillenan and repay her for what she had done to him. He found Gillenan while she was out on a hunt with her sisters and lured her away from them with lies and false words. He told Gillenan that he had learned his lessons and begged her to come with him so that she could teach him how to make proper offering to Andril. Moved by his plea, Gillenan followed the hunter, and when they were away from all her sisters, the hunter turned on Gillenan. He blinded her first, and then bound her as he would bind a fresh kill of the hunt. But because he was cursed, the hunter could not kill her. Instead, he left her for dead in the forest. Gillenan prayed to the gods for help. She prayed to Elgana for vengeance, to Mother Mithal to protect her, but above all, she prayed to Andril. Andril sent hares to Gillenan, and they chewed through the rope that bound her, but Gillenan was still wounded and blind, and could not find her way. So Andril turned her into a beautiful white deer, the first Hala, and Gillenan found her way back to her sisters and led them to the hunter, who was brought to justice. And since that day, Hala have guided the people and have never led us astray, for they listen to the voice of Gillenan. Gillenan is told by Gishrael, keeper of the Relafern clan of the Dalish elves. June, God of craft. We dedicate all our crafts to June, for it is he who taught the people how to bend the branches of trees to make our bows, to fashion coverings of furs and iron bark. Without June, would we have the Aravel or the harness for our Hala? When the people were young, we wandered the forest without purpose. We drank from streams and ate berries and nuts that we could find. We did not hunt, for we did not know bows. Well, because bows are the only way you can hunt. We wore nothing, for we had no knowledge of spinning needlecraft. We shivered in the cold nights and went hungry through the winters, when all the world was covered in snow and ice. And Silace, the hearthkeeper, came and gave us fire and taught us how to feed it with wood. June taught us how to fashion bows and arrows and knives so that we could hunt. We learned to cook the flesh of the creatures we hunted over Silace's fire, and we learned how to clothe ourselves in furs and skins, and the people were no longer cold and hungry, as told by Gishrael, keeper of the Relafern clan of the Dalish elves. Silace, the hearthkeeper. Silace, the hearthkeeper, is seen as the sister of Andril, the huntress. While Andril loved to run with the creatures of the wild, Silace preferred to stay by her home tree, occupying herself with gentle arts and song. It is Silace who first gave us fire and taught us how to use it. It is Silace who showed us how to heal with herbs and with magic, and how to ease the passage of infants into this world. And again, it is Silace who showed us how to spin in the fibers of plants into rope and thread. We owe much to Silace, and That is why we sing to her when we kindle the fires, and when we put them out. That is why we sprinkle our Aravils with Slaze's fragrant tree moss and ask that she protect them and all within. As told by Yisrael, keeper of the Ralaferan clan of the Dalish elves. Let's see. The Dales. Many forget. Holy Andraste called out to the oppressed people to rise up. It was the elves who answered her first. The humblest slaves of Muhurin became her vanguard. And when victory came, they were rewarded accordingly. They were given the lands in what is now the south of Orlais, called the Dales. A great exodus of elves undertook the journey to their new home, crossing ocean, desert, and mountain. Their first elven city since Fable Arathan, was called Halam Shiral. A new era for the elves began. The old era wasn't through with them. In their forest city, the elves turned against the worship of their silent ancient gods, became increasingly isolationist. Turned again to the worship of their silent ancient gods, increasingly isolationist, posting emerald knights who guarded their borders with jealousy, rebuked all efforts at trade or civilized discourse. Dark rumors spread in the land that bordered the Dales, secrets, whispers of humans captured and sacrificed to the elven gods. And then came an attack by the elves on a defenseless village of Red Crossing. The Chantry replied with the exalted march of the Dales, and the era of the Elven Kingdom came to an end. Haram Shiral was utterly destroyed, and the elves driven out, scattered, left to survive on goodwill alone. From Elven Folklore and History by Sister Patrine, Chantry Scholar. Alright, I think this is also one that I didn't have before. The Dalish who band together in small groups of blood relatives and travel in ornately carved wagons known as Aravels, drawn by large white stags called Hala. The Aravel are a unique sight, beautiful in their swooping curvature and adorned with broad hoods and bright silken cloths that flap in the wind, often displaying the noble banners that once flew over that family's house. Most humans refer to Aravels as land ships, for in a strong wind it can often appear as if the elves travel in long boats, with sails high overhead that announce their arrival or warn others away. The Hala are unique to the elves. Any but elven handlers consider them ornery and almost impossible to train. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting point that not all animals are necessarily domesticatable. There's things like they need to be social animals and also potentially have a hierarchy within their normal social orders. There's more or less that means that they can accept a human as being the leader of their group. If they don't have that, they're inclined to just do whatever they want. To the Dalish, they are noble beasts, superior in breeding to the horse. Certainly most humans would agree that the Hala are as beautiful as the elves themselves. Everyone finds the elves beautiful. The fact that many imperial nobles maintain a bounty on Hala horns that find their way into Devinter is an affront to the Dalish, what the Dalish consider unforgivable. Few among us can claim to have seen the Dalish landship so close. Any human who sees them on the horizon does well to head the other way. Few Dalish clans take kindly to humans intruding on their camps, and more than one tale tells of a troublemaking humans who found themselves mercilessly filled with Dalish arrows. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brother Genetivi. Rather prolific. Valaslin, blood writing. When the children of our people come of age, they earn the privilege of wearing the Valaslin, the blood writing. It sets us apart from the Shemlin and from the elves who have thrown their lot in with them. It reminds us that we will never again surrender our traditions and beliefs. Ritual deserves great reverence. The one who is to gain the Valaslin must prepare by meditating on the gods and the ways of our people, and by purifying the body and the skin. When the time comes, the keeper of the clan applies the blood writing. It is done in complete silence. Cries of pain are a sign of weakness. If one cannot tolerate the pain of the blood writing, they are not ready to undertake the responsibilities of an adult. The keeper may stop the ritual if they decide that the one gaining the Valisthine is not ready. There is no shame in this, for all children are different. Their ancestors once took centuries to come of age. As told by Gisharel, keeper of the Reliferin clan of the Dalish elves. And yes, I do know how to pronounce that name perfectly, obviously. Palathan Part 1. Before the ages were named or numbered, our people were glorious and eternal and never changing. Like the great oak tree, they were constant in their traditions, strong on their roots, and ever reaching for the sky. They felt no need to rush when life was endless. That is a thing which some people have posited, that if you are immortal, you have all the time in the world to do things, and so there's no rush on anything. You might get less done. They worshipped their gods for months at a time. Decisions came after decades of debate, and an introduction could last for years. From time to time, our ancestors would drift into centuries-long slumber, but this was not death, for we know they wandered in the Fade in dreams. Interesting note, my impression was that at the time the elves were immortal, there was no Fade. And also, if this is being written by elves, they call that the Beyond, not the Fade. In those ages, our people called all the land and Elfhanan, which in the old languages mean place of our people. And at the center of the world stood the great city of Arlathan, a place of knowledge and debate, where the best of the ancient elves would go to trade knowledge, greet old friends, and settle disputes that had gone on for millennia. But while our ancestors were caught up in the forever cycle of ages, drifting through life at what we today would consider an intolerable pace, as the world outside the lush forest and ancient trees was changing, humans first arrived from Parvolin to the north, called Shemlin or Quicklings by those ancients. The humans were pitiful creatures whose lives blinked by in an instant. When they first met the elves, the humans were brash and warlike, quick to anger and quicker to fight, with no patience for the unhurried pace of elven diplomacy. But the humans brought worse things in war with them. Our ancestors proved susceptible to human diseases. For the first time in history, elves died of natural causes. What's more, those elves who spent time bartering and negotiating with the humans found themselves aging, tainted by the humans' brash and impatient lives. Many believed that the ancient gods had judged them unworthy of their long lives and cast them down among the quicklings. Our ancestors came to look upon the humans as parasites, which I understand is similar to the way the humans see our people in the cities. The ancient elves immediately moved to close off Elfhanan from the humans for fear that this quickening effect would crumble the civilization. From the fall of Arthan, as told by Gisharel, keeper of the Relafan, and of the Dalish elves. Characters. Keeper Zathrin. Even with all our magic and skill, we can only delay the inevitable. It is said that the elves lived in Ferelden long before any others set foot there, and though most of their knowledge has been lost, it falls to the keeper of each clan to preserve what they have. Zathrin is an old, severe elf with little love for outsiders, but his clan is facing a more trying enemy than most. The crows send their regards. Between they showed him unexpected mercy, and in return he swore to aid the warden's quest and the blight. Witherfang is, according to Keeper Zathrin, a wolf. He is an ordinary wolf, however. He is a wolf possessed by a powerful spirit, and the source of the werewolf curse that plagues the Princeling forest. While Witherfang is hundreds of years old and very powerful in his own right, the only way to end his curse is to cut out his heart and bring it to Zathrin. songs. Tale of Ilorn. In the days after the rising of Zazikil, the Dark Ones covered every corner of the land. The archdemon drove all the nations of the world before him, Shemlin and Elfin alike. In the far north, where the hills wander the plains, and the earth is eternally baked beneath the uncaring sun, lands which the Shemlin call Anderfells, a clan of our people lived, struggling to survive the blight. Ilorin was their keeper, a hunter in his younger days, crafty as any wolf. He led his people away just ahead of the darkspawn who chased them, but the old hunter knew that even Hala cannot run forever. He must turn and fight or be run down. At the foot of the Merdane, the darkspawn cornered Ilorin's clan. That night the moon was strangled by clouds, and the earth concealed by a dread mist that rose out of nowhere, so that the Elven could not tell up from down. In the confusion, the darkspawn attacked, but Ilorin had prepared for them around the camp. The hunters had strewn dry grass, brush, and brambles. They heard the sound of rustling footfalls. When the sound of rustling footfalls began, Ilorin and the other Halran called upon the old magic. They struck out with lightning, and though the bolts missed the darkspawn, they hit their target all the same. A sea of kindling lit, and not one of the dark creatures made it through the fire to reach Ilorin's clan. That's interesting. Haran is the title used by the leader of the Elvish alienages. The tale of Ilorin, written by Zatharin, as it has been passed down to keeper for generations. Notes. My elf fruit. That's an interesting term of endearment. The herbalist suggested powdered prontohorn. I was very discreet. Prince of Red Jenny, the task was never promised to be easy. You said to the Circle Tower, and you believed. Finding a small painted box in the first enchantress sent delivered to the poor marked in Denerim as agreed, or be prepared to find yourself hunted across Ferelden, friends of Red Jenny. That seemed rather more threatening than friends of Red Jenny generally are, but anyway. Sketch map of several doors. It requires the box to be placed on it to block out false leads. Alright, and that's it for this codex reading. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and have a nice day.